People say height doesn't matter, that it's just insecurity. But when you're a short guy like me, you hear it everywhere. Not just in insults, but in everyday language. And after a while, those words start to wear you down. And it's not just random. The entirety of human language, English, Latin, Greek, is steeped in height-based symbolism. Stature means power. Low means weak. They weren't invented last century. This is ancient. People talk about sexist or racist microaggressions, and those are real. But heightism is so deeply baked into human language that even the most progressive people reinforce it without even knowing. Or maybe some of them do know. So today, I'm breaking down 5 phrases you've probably said that are quietly telling short guys that we're worth less. These phrases don't just reflect bias, they shape it. It's how the world reminds us to stay in our place.
Number 1. Punching down. I hear this one a lot in the YouTube drama sphere. Whenever a larger YouTuber targets a smaller YouTuber, the idea of punching down is frowned upon for multiple reasons. What do you picture when you think of someone punching down? You picture this high status, towering god with supremacy over everyone else, who looks down at the little guy who cowers up in fear, and with his or her superior reach and power, pummels the little guy into the ground. That's what you picture. It gives this sense of an unfair advantage. Someone with a superiority complex who knows they're better than you, abusing their power and taking advantage of that. Not just to remind you of your place in the hierarchy, but to bully you and sadistically put you down, so that they can feel even better. Why would this phrase exist unless it was actually true that tall people had an advantage in fighting? On my TikTok, I hear people all the time trying to tell me that tall people don't really have an advantage in boxing. Look, I don't care about your outlier stories or your anecdotal evidence. If you're ever in a situation where you see somebody who towers so high above the little guy that the little guy can't even reach their chin and they're getting pummeled down upon, even if the little guy has more training, if they have more muscle, they don't stand a chance. And if height advantage in fighting wasn't a thing, then this phrase wouldn't exist. They've got reach, they've got downward momentum, and they've got the intimidation factor. And that's where this next phrase comes in. Number 2, they look down on me, or I look up to you. These phrases encapsulate a sense of superiority or inferiority based on how tall the person is. Obviously, when you're really tiny, you look up to everybody, and everybody else looks down on you. So tell me, why would a phrase like this exist if people in society didn't have an unconscious bias to have more respect for someone they look up to physically and have less respect for someone they look down on physically? To me, the reasoning behind this is quite obvious. When you have to look up to everyone, you feel infantilized. You feel like a child. It reminds you of looking up to your parents who have complete and utter authority over you. And physically, there's literally nothing that you can do to stop them from punishing you, from abusing you, and not taking advantage of the physical power they have over you. The opposite is true for someone who looks down on everybody. They feel like the daddy or the mommy of the group. They look down on you knowing that you don't stand a chance against them, that in a survival situation or a conflict scenario, you have all the power, and it goes to your head. Not for everybody, but it really is an influx of this intoxicating sense of power that just invigorates you with confidence, and for some, arrogance. And I believe this is where a lot of bullying comes into the picture. When someone has a superiority complex and feels better than the person who's smaller and weaker than them, they have this irresistible compulsion to put that person in their place and assert their dominance and power over those lesser than them. And I totally understand that compulsion. It's a form of sexual sadism that just produces this euphoria, this feeling that I'm one of the few people who are superior to everyone else, and this person is at the bottom. This is a rare privilege. Maybe in the next life, I'll just be a regular person. So for now, I'm gonna make the most of my position of authority. Which gives us the perfect segue into the next phrase. Number 3, large and in charge. How many times have you heard this on TV shows, especially kids shows? It's like they're brainwashing kids from a young age to realize that if they're not tall, they need to stay at the bottom of the totem pole. Oh, that man is large and in charge. Oh yeah, she's large and in charge. Now tell me, why would a phrase like that exist, one that goes back centuries, maybe even thousands of years, if there wasn't a correlation between power and height. Those ancient words, status and stature, going way back to the Roman Empire. Even those words are connected. When you look up to someone who has high stature, it psychologically puts a feeling in your mind that they are high status. And when people see someone they look down on, they see them as low stature and low status. Now, these subconscious thought patterns manifest themselves in microaggressions, where people listen more to the person who they look up to and listen less to the one they look down on. This results in high status positions being more often given to the person who towers above the rest physically. Part of the reason for this might be completely pragmatic. Maybe the hiring manager knows that this is a rowdy bunch and they won't listen to some little pipsqueak. And if you get someone who's large and in charge to come in there, they're going to shut their mouth and they're not going to give any lip. But over generations, as you have more and more people that are large and in charge being given these positions, they get more pay than the lower stature people, and they pass that money on to the next generation and the next and the next, and it compounds until their progeny has enough money to found their own companies or buy their own properties. And that's where the association between height and aristocracy came from. All in all, large and in charge touches on the idea that larger people are more likely to hold positions of power, which is a phenomenon that you can see far back through history into antiquity, and it's reinforced in all of our media. Now, if you've heard any terms like this that I neglect to mention in this video, drop them in the comments. I want to make more videos breaking these down because honestly, this one barely scratches the surface. And if this is hitting something real for you so far, hit the like button because it'll help this video reach more people who've dealt with this too. All right, back to the list. Here's another one that really messed with my head growing up: to stoop down to your level. It brings to mind the idea that the tall person of higher stature is superior and the small person of lower stature is inferior. This one really does subtly reinforce heightism in our everyday lives because it's something we say all the time, and we do picture this inferior, superior power dynamic. But when people are asked about it, they gaslight and they say, oh, that doesn't exist. Everyone's equal, blah, blah, blah. But if everyone really is equal, then why do all these phrases exist and go back hundreds, if not thousands of years through language and history? But yeah, I try to avoid using this phrase because it's honestly really offensive. Like, oh, I don't want to stoop down to your level, you peasant, you're worthless. I tower above you. I'm so superior and I don't want to stoop down to your level. Now, this last one's not a phrase, but it's an expression. Number 5, the act of saluting. Why do people salute? Have you ever thought about it? It's an expression of respect and reverence for your superiors for a reason. The reason why saluting represents an expression of respect is because when you're looking up at someone who's large and in charge, who towers over you, who you look up to, and that person looks down on you, you have to shield your eyes from the sun because when you look up at them, the sun is shining down on you. Now, these phrases might sound harmless, but they're not. They're ancient. They go way back before modern culture. They're baked into our language because height has always symbolized power. Not just in English, not just in America, across cultures, across centuries, taller has always meant better. Even when race or gender ideals changed, height remained the status marker. This is why I say height is the physical manifestation of prosperity. If you want to understand what I mean by that, watch this next video right here. It breaks down how height isn't just a trait, it's a legacy. And if you've heard phrases like this or you've got others I missed, drop them in the comments. I'll cover more in the next one.